Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Thank you for coming. We are going to work on this beautiful piece of artwork here. I know it's a little messy. We're going to do a color wheel, tints, shades. We're going to add some browns. We're going to add the primary colors to them and some peachy colors for skin tones. Follow along. I hope you enjoy it. I hope it encourages you to paint more in your life and really enjoy painting. It's beautiful. It's relaxing. It's beautiful. It's relaxing. Your imagination. Or just paint what you see around you. It's beautiful. So follow along, and I hope you have a great time.
Enjoy. Okay, so we are going to get started. You want some paper towel to dab your brush on, water, and any kind of paintbrush will do. I've got one that's sort of a little round brush here, you can see. Okay. We are going to start with your primary colors. So we're going to do a circle in the middle. Your secondary colors will be a bigger circle, and then your tertiary colors will be a bigger circle. So we're going to do that in the middle, not too big, so I'm going to show you a couple extra tricks on the side, and we're going to keep this for later. So in the middle, you'll draw a circle, and you want to separate that into 3. So you've got your red, or blue, and yellow. Next you want your secondary colors. And you're actually going to do a line in the middle of your original colors. Because they're a combination of the two. Okay? Then you're going to draw your tertiary line. And for this one, we're going to split the secondary into 3. It's not completely necessary. Essentially what you're doing, you could even do it at a bit of a triangle to remind you what you're doing. So you're actually combining a little bit of extra yellow with the secondary color to create this one, and so on for the next one as well. So you can carry this line on completely. This will be the same as your secondary color. You'll see in a moment what we're going to do. Now if you're on a budget, you can get palettes at the dollar store. We're gonna grab our palette. I'm going to put that to the side. Okay, actually we're going to use these little compartments on the side here, and we're going to start with just the primary colors. So I have Bright Red by Crafters Acrylic, it's from the dollar store, Peacock Blue, and Sun Yellow. That's it, that's all we need. Okay, so we're going to start with the yellow. We're going to actually put a little bit to one side, about a teaspoon or so. We're going to do the same with the blue, and the same with the red. So we don't actually want to put them in the compartments, which is what I was going to do, because we want to see how much volume we're actually mixing of each one. When we get into it, creating the colors, it really does matter what you're doing. So we're just going to fill in the primaries. You've got your red. Wash the brush off there. And I like to give it a little roll rather than patting it down so you're not breaking the bristles or deforming them, separating them. I'm going to grab a little yellow and fill that one in. Give it a gentle roll, and the blue. I had a little mixed. Okay. Now when you mix blue and yellow, you actually get green, and when you mix blue and red, you get purple, and yellow and red is orange. And those are the same colors we're going to be using in the middle bit there. So what you want to do is try and do a 50-50 of each. So 50% red, 50% yellow, to try and get as close to a true orange as we can. So you can take one little round kind of brush or dab of the yellow, and we'll do the same for the red. The nice thing about painting is that it's yours, and if you mix the color and it's not 100% orange, it's okay. It's a real painting. It's part of you. Okay, and you mix those together. We've got a really nice orange there. So we're going to fill that in on the secondary circle. And that's okay if you go past the lines or you're shaky. This is just a reference for when you really start creating your paintings. When you want to make colors that you don't have, you'll know what to do. We're going to paint this into the triangle. Okay, just like that. I'm going to dab my brush, give it a roll. So we're going to do the same thing with the red and the blue. One dab of red, I'm just going to put it in the corner here. One dab of blue. Give that a mix and you should have a really nice purple color. Now I can tell mine already has a little too much blue, so I'm going to add a little extra red. There we go. I like to kind of roll my brush rather than stabbing it. If you remember that hint, it kind of saves your brushes. And these are just dollar store brushes. Any of them will do. You'll learn ones you like. I prefer synthetic over the natural hair ones. I find they don't shed as often and you're not picking up pieces of hair from your painting. So with the purple, I'm just going to color that in there. And you don't have to be exact. And you're going to color it into that triangle. Okay. Give that a wash. It's nice if you have a couple of rags you can use because you can just throw them in the wash after. But paper towel works if that's what you have. Next we're going to start making our green. So 50% of yellow and blue. That off into the corner here. Yellow, blue. Beautiful. And we'll paint that in. There you go. Now for your tertiary colors, it's actually a combination of the primary color and the secondary color. So it's basically taking this green, adding a little more blue, and that's going to go here. So you have a blue-green. This side would be adding a little extra yellow to the green. So that's why I've divided it in the middle. You're going to do the same with the orange. Add a little yellow, add a little red, and it'll give you slightly different color changes that you'll notice. So we're going to take this green, the one that we have left over, you don't need much, we're going to separate it into two. We need 2 pieces. So just kind of take a little amount of that, put it to the side. So you have 2 separate sections. Now this one we're going to take a little extra blue. You don't need a lot, just a little bit more on the tip of your brush, if you can tell there. We're going to mix that in with the green. And it kind of reminds me of the sea, kind of a seaweed, bluey green. And of course, the more blue you add, we could even try that, the deeper it'll get. Blue, green, purple is part of the cooling colors. Red, yellows, oranges are part of the warm colors, which is important to consider when painting. Okay, so that green is done. When you're painting, another thing to remember is backgrounds and foregrounds. So foregrounds are sort of at the front, whereas backgrounds, as it says, is the background. Foreground, you want to bring a lot more livelier colors, brighter colors, and the background you want more of the deeper, richer colors. So if I was doing a tree, for example, I would put these darker greens in the background and some of the lighter ones and the yellow you'll see in a moment in the foreground, and create layers, which makes it look like depth. You'll get there. So we're going to take a little yellow, we're going to mix that with the remainder of our green, not the one that had the blue added to it. And you'll see how much lighter that is. We can even add a little more yellow. You see that really brightens up. So we're going to move on to the orange. We'll separate this orange, put a little bit to the side, a little bit to this side. I don't have much, I didn't make much. It's okay if you made extra, it's okay if you poured extra. You'll always find a use for it, and at least it's not expensive paints, which always makes me feel better. So we are going to mix a little yellow with our orange to create this one. So you want 1 dab of yellow, not a whole lot, because I don't have much orange in there. I'm going to paint that on. And like we did with the green, we could add a little extra yellow, just to see the difference that it makes. Perfect for sunsets. And now we're going to do the orange and the red. So just a little dab of red, mix that with the orange, not the one with the extra yellow added to it. And we're going to paint some of that in there. Kind of an earthier tone to it, it's not so bright and orange. This is definitely something you could use as an undertone for sand. And with a little extra red, almost a blush. Now the same with the purple, we're going to mix the blue. So we'll separate some of this purple, just put that beside the blue there. We're going to mix the blue with a little bit of the purple. And paint that on the blue and purple side. So it kind of gives the blue a deeper, richer color. You can even add a little extra. You see the color change there. It's almost like a royal blue. And then now we're going to add the red to the purple. So 1 dab of red, mix that in with the purple. I took too much. And another nice thing about this paint is it doesn't dry really quickly, so you have a little time to work with it. Okay, we're going to paint that in. And that's sort of a plum color. That's very nice. I'll add a little extra red. You can see a beautiful fruit painting with that one. So it's a little messy, but you do have your color wheel. I'll zoom in for you so you can have a look. So you have your blue, red, yellow, orange, purple, green, and then the tertiary colors when you mix the primaries with the secondaries. So it should look something like that. Now we're going to do a little bit of color theory. Color theory is helpful when you want to get to the next step and you want to make your pictures a little bit nicer So there is 3 different kinds we can talk about. This is the basics. We want, I get my pen to work, a tint, which is the color plus white. Okay. We have tone, which is our color plus gray. And then we have shade, or shades, which is the color plus black. Now obviously when you go to the store, you'll want to grab a black and a white paint. I found mine at the dollar store, just a classic white and black, and that's all you need. The black is very strong, so a little bit goes a long way. So we're going to do an example of this with some of our colors that we had made. We are going to let's make a green, and we'll do it with our green. Okay. So we want to mix our yellow and our blue. I'm going to put it over top of the green I was already working on. Take a dollop of blue there. Nice, good amount of blue. A little yellow there. And mix together. So you can do a little swatch of that. So that's just the green color we're starting with. And we're going to be adding white. A tint is color plus white. So you give it a good shake. I'm going to put white in one of the little compartments to the side. So I zoomed out a little bit so that you can see a little better. So I've put some white in the tray. I've made my green. So we're going to add a little bit of white to the green, and we're going to do this slowly. We only want a little bit at a time, so it's a gradual change. Tint doesn't have to be one. So we do a little swatch of that beside it, and you can already see the difference that it's made in the painting. We're going to add a little extra white again. And we're going to do that one right beside it. Okay. A little extra white. And this is very handy when you're working on your foreground and you're creating the layers. Just adding a little extra white or black to a color can really change it and make it feel like a whole new color. And a little extra white again. One more. Makes quite a bit of paint. There you go. And when I want to save my paints, I'll actually take a piece of cling film or kitchen wrap and just kind of wrap my palette kind of as airtight as I can. I can even put a rag on top to help weigh it down, and that keeps any air from drying out the paint, and I can use it again the next day, or if it's just a couple hours. So next we're going to do our tone, which is color plus gray. So we have to make gray with your black and your white. We're going to try and aim for a 50%. I know that the black can be quite strong, so we'll see how we go with that one. So of course we're going to put that off to the side and then mix them separately. We don't want to pour them on top of each other. That might give us a whole other problem. Okay, so we're going to take one daub of the white, like we've been doing with the other paints, and kind of half the size of the black, just to mix it in, and we'll see where we're at then. Do what you feel comfortable with. Okay, that's a very nice tone of gray. So we are going to mix color plus gray to get our tone. And let's do that with our purple. Now I need to make more purple because I ran out. So I will wipe off the paint on the side here as much as I can to preserve it. Wash my brush, give it a little roll to dry it out. So our purple is red and blue, and you try 50%. I'm going to take one swatch of red, one swatch of blue, and mix them together delicately. You really don't want to smash your brush against the palette. You can bend and break the bristles. The paint can get up into the metal holder and it starts making your bristles spread out, and it's really hard to get that fine point detail later on when your brush is damaged. My purple is a little blue, so I'm adding more red to kind of make it purple. Seems a little blue still. And this is why you don't just pour your paints on top of each other. Okay, we're going to do one swatch of that. A little blue. There's my purple. And we're going to add gray. So we want to do it gradually in stages again. So just take a little bit of the gray, not a whole lot. Mix that in with your purple. Still looks pretty close to where it was. We're going to do that again. And I just keep rolling my brush to make sure that everything's coated in there and mixed. Okay. That definitely looks a little bit more gray. And we can do that one more time. This is almost completely gray with just a hint of purple. So that would be really nice as some detail on rocks. If you're doing a forest scene or water, really great color for that. Yeah. And then to do our shades, you're dealing with color plus black. So we'll clean our brush off here. We've poured our black already. For color, let's do orange. We'll do the other secondary color. So I, of course, used all my orange. I need to make some more. So we are going to do 50% red and 50% yellow. Do it in the same compartment. And we're going to gently mix them together. All right. I'm going to give a nice little swatch of that orange, really vivid. Now remember, the black is very strong, so we're going to start slow. Just a tiny little bit. There is the smallest dot on my brush. We're going to mix it with our orange. I almost put that in the purple. Okay. You can already see the difference. We're going to swatch that there. Reminds me of a sunset. I'm going to do a little bit more. When you want the deep, rich colors of the sun setting. There we go. I'm going to do that one more time. I have enough orange, we could do that again as well. So that's almost a really muddy, earthy color. Really great for soils again. If you're painting a garden, or any water scenes. And that's very similar to the last one. Let's add a little extra black to that. You want to see the change. Okay. That's nice. There we go. That's a really great one. So there you go. So that's tint, tone, and shade, and your color wheel. The other one I'm going to talk about, which is kind of important and really needed, I find I go to it a lot, is brown. So we're going to work on brown. Brown is 33% mixture of blue, red, and yellow, so even across the board. I find it's really great for everything that I paint. If you're doing wood, you're doing sand, you're doing people, you're doing clothing, anything like that, it's kind of necessary. It's part of nature, right? And that's where we live. So I'm going to work in here and I'm going to mix my browns. So we want to start with the primary colors again. I've used up all my red. I'm going to pour a little extra red. Okay. Now we're going to do one daub of each, just to get started. One daub of red, one daub of yellow, and one daub of blue. And mix those together. Nice little roll technique. So I am getting green, which tells me I have too much blue. So we're going to add a little extra red. We're still in the green hue, so that's still a greeny color. And add a little extra red again. Okay. Now I know that they sell brown in the store. If you want to buy it, that is fine. I know that it can be darker, richer than what we can make here. These colors are not true like cadmium red and the top quality. It is dollar store. But we have created a brown. So it's sort of a sandy, grainy brown. We're going to add a little extra red, see if we can get that richer. We've gone too red. A bit of yellow. And this is the reason why people often just buy the colors. You don't learn as much and it's not as much fun, but if you're in a pinch and you just want to relax and enjoy painting, buy the brown. Okay, so we've got our brown there, at least to the side. Now, if we wanted to add a little red to that, I'm going to put some of this to the side. I'm going to mix a little bit of red and paint that right beside it. Really nice shade in there. If you're doing different colors of quartz on stones, different shadows, the great thing to do to remember when you're doing shadows, try to use reds and blues instead of black. Black is so strong and sharp, and if you look in nature, it really isn't there as a strong shadow. It really is kind of the darker hues of colors, the darker shades that you want to stick with. Adding tints and colors and tones to kind of manipulate the painting rather than just a black line of shadow. Try to keep that in mind when you're painting. So we are going to do one where we add a little extra blue. Okay, swatch that beside it. Really nice color. You can even add a little extra blue to see what it does. I love this color. Isn't that pretty? All right. Now we're going to do one where we add yellow. So, in case you've forgotten, brown plus red plus blue plus yellow. Okay, and we're going to work on our yellow next. Try to wear clothes that are okay if they get paint on them, because that will happen. Sew yourself a little apron or throw on an old raggedy t-shirt or something like that to kind of keep the paint off your clothing, because it will happen. Okay, so we're going to take a little brown and we're going to put that in another little compartment. And we're going to take our yellow. Just a nice little dab, not too much. And mix that in. And you can see how that is different than just adding black. I know we had made an orange, but if you make orange and add black, as opposed to having brown and adding more yellow, it's still different. It's really close to this one here, but it's just not the same. And that's where you really get your realism in your paintings, adding those extra colors. Life is full of color, so go for it. Okay, so we're going to add a little extra yellow again. See what that does. This is so fun. It's still pretty close. Let's do that again. More yellow. Okay. That is pretty. I'm going to do that one more time. Just because it's fun. Okay. So we're getting a little bit more into the green shades with that one. Now the other one I get asked about too is skin tone. And I find skin tone can be one of the hardest ones to do. I find I'll do a base color and then kind of water down and do layers on top to add depth, blush, freckles, things like that, shadow. So I found the best way to make skin tone or flesh tone, orange plus white, just seems to work, especially with these paints. It might be different with more specialized or more expensive paints. If you're on a budget like I am, you work with what you got. So we're going to make orange. I can do that in one of these other compartments. So we're going to take one dab of red and then one dab of yellow. Try to get as close to 50% as you can, and you can still adjust it if needed. Alright, so we have our orange, and then we're going to do a tint. So just take a little dot of white, add that to your orange, and you'll almost get like a creamsicle color. But if you do that again, a little extra white, mix that in again. Okay, so you're starting to get that creamy color, which is what we're looking for. So you can do that as like an undertone or a base, or even if you're doing it as spots and details as a highlight. So now if we add a little extra red to our peachy orangey color we've made, it's almost like a little blush. You could use that as a highlight on the cheeks or the nose to really bring them to life. Even the lip detail on a person's face would work. So to make the darker skin tones, we're going to make a burnt sienna. Now we don't have the true colors that they call for. We are going to put mostly red, so we're going to do one dot of red. Let's get two in there. 2 round dobs of red. We're going to add a little bit of our green. So I actually have to make some more green. I'm out of green. Okay. So to the red, we're going to add a little green. And it's about 90% red, just 40% green. And maybe, 1/3 of that as blue. Okay, and we're going to mix those together. So we sort of have our burnt sienna color. So now we're going to add blue to the burnt sienna to create darker skin tones. So you're just going to keep adding a little bit more blue to make it darker. A little bit darker there. If you want to buy the skin tone colors, you're more than welcome to. It's definitely easier in the process. This can add a little bit more realistic detail when you have different shades and colors. So these paints go on they're a little watered down. They do go on very light. I like that because you can layer, which is where you get your detail. So I might do this as a base coat, let that dry, add some little details like a highlight, let that dry, kind of go over it again with a little bit more, which really blends it in, and that gives you your depth in your layers. Say you wanted to add some freckles in there, let that dry, do your color over it, and that's what gives you the realness, I find. I really like that about these paints. It's so easy to work with, and if you make a mistake, it's easy to fix it. And we will go through all of that together as we're painting. So there you go. And of course you can add white to that if you wanted to lighten it. So you want to do some highlights. And to make it darker, we could add the black. Be very careful when you're adding black. Start slow, because it's kind of a gray. So we've made gray. So there you go. You have a beautiful palette at the end of it. And you have your color wheel, your tints, your tones, your shades, how to make brown, a little extra red to it, little blue, little yellow, and then some flesh tones that you can work with and get started. So if you're on a budget, a couple dollar store paintbrushes. We did all of this with one. I got the pointed brush because it's so much easier to do the details when you want to do the detail with the fine point or when you want to cover a larger area. Thank you for painting with me. I hope that you liked it and you follow the next video. Have a great day.